this lesson, we're going to create a Geo Map in Google Sheets that is controlled by a drop-down criteria box. So to give you a preview of what we're going to do in this video, I have a finished product here of a Geo Map that currently shows the average household income by state in the US. So if I hover over any of these states, it shows the average income. I have a Dropbox to the right here, and as I said, it's currently selected to average income, but I can also select average credit card debt by state, and our Geo Map will adjust accordingly. And now when I hover over a state, it reflects the average credit card debt. So this Geo Map is driven by this Dropbox, as well as the formula you see here in column B. We have a VLOOKUP function that does a lookup to our data tab based on the state name, as well as a match function that does a lookup based on our Dropbox criteria. So if we go over to our data tab, you can see we have in column A the state names, followed by the second column with average income, and the third column with average credit card debt. So the first thing I want to do is add a new tab where our new map will live. So we'll call this new Geo Map. And I want to go back to the data ribbon, the data tab, and copy the state column and paste it into our new Geo Map tab. Over to the right, I want to add a drop box for our selections. So I'm going to add a header first, though. We'll call this select category, and then we'll insert a drop box. So in the cell below it, I'm going to go up to data and then data validation. You can see we have different options here for the criteria. We want this first one that's already selected, list from a range. So I'm going to click in that and then click in this select data range box, and a new window will appear. Now you need to click inside it first before you select your data, so keep that in mind. So I'm going to go back to our data ribbon, and for our Dropbox we just want these two categories here, average income and average credit card debt. So I'm going to select that 2-cell array and hit save. And if we go back to our new tab, we now have our Dropbox selections. So I'm going to link this header here to our Dropbox so that it adjusts every time we make a new selection. And now we're ready to insert our VLOOKUP function. So we want to perform a VLOOKUP with our first argument, the search key, being the state name, and the range we want to do the lookup in is back on our data tab, and we want to do a lookup on our entire data set. So I'm just going to select columns A through C, hit F4 to lock that down. Now the next input is our column reference. Well, we want to pull back data from 2 different columns, 2 or 3, based on our Dropbox selection. So to make this more dynamic, what we want to do here is insert the match function. The match function returns the relative position of a lookup value or search key within a range of data. So what is our search key? Well, that's our Dropbox. Whatever is selected here, that's what we want to match on. So I'm going to hit F4 to lock that down. Now our range is going to be back on the data tab, and that's just going to be our row of headers because we want to perform a match of either average income or average credit card debt in this first row. So for example here, if our Dropbox is selected to average credit card debt, then we want to pull back the third position in this array here in cells A1 through C1. So I'm going to hit F4 to lock that down. And the final input of the match is the search type. We want 0 or false for an exact match. And this then brings us back into our VLOOKUP function, and we also want to end this with a 0 because we want an exact match. So I'll hit enter. This pulls back the average income for the state of Alabama. Now if I change my Dropbox selection over here to average credit card debt, you can see it pulls in the average credit card debt. Why? Because the match function is doing a match based on whatever is selected here and pulling back the relative position, either 2 or 3. In this case we have average credit card debt selected as our match search value, so it searches A1 through C1 back on our data tab and finds the relative position of that match, which is the third column. So that is how that works. So I'm going to drag this down. So now we can insert our map. So I'm going to select our entire data set, go up to Insert, Chart. Now Google Sheets will automatically select a suggested chart. We obviously don't want this one. So in the chart editor window that pops up to the right, we're going to, under chart type, select under maps Geo Chart, which is down close to the very bottom. And by default, the map that will appear is the world map. So we want to go over to the Customize ribbon, and under Geo, under Region, we want to change this from World to the United States. So now we have our Geo Map. We have a legend at the bottom with our minimum value, and the color assigned to those minimum values is red, with the maximum values having a value of green. Now if we wanted to change this, maybe we just want to change this so that it's all a green color scale from lightest to darkest shades of green. So what we can do here is select the minimum shade as the lightest shade of green. There's also a shade for the middle or medium value, so we'll select a medium shade of green, and then for our maximum value we'll get the darkest shade of green. That looks a little better. We can also adjust the background to make the map stand out a little more. So if we wanted to change this to maybe black, we can do that. That looks a little better. And now as I hover over this, you can see we're currently pulling in the average credit card debt per state. And if we change our Dropbox selection to average income, you can see our map adjust accordingly and now reflects average income for a given state. So that is how you can create a geo map that is driven by a Dropbox in Google Sheets. Hey, if you like what you saw today, please subscribe to the Excel Cave. Thanks for watching.